The antiseptic smell hit me first. Sharp, clinical, burning the inside of my nose as consciousness dragged me back from wherever I'd been floating. Everything felt heavy, my eyelids, my limbs, even the air pressing against my chest. Beeping, steady, insistent beeping somewhere to my left. Machines tracking rhythms I couldn't control. My mouth tasted like copper and sand, throat raw like I'd swallowed broken glass. I forced my eyes open. Fluorescent lights blazed overhead, too bright, making me wince. The ceiling tiles were that particular shade of institutional white that existed only in hospitals and government buildings. My right shoulder screamed with pain the moment I tried to move, sending white-hot fire racing down my arm. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. She's awake. A woman's voice, professional but warm. Take it easy, miss. Cooper, you've been through quite an ordeal. A nurse appeared in my line of vision, middle-aged with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a practical bun. She adjusted something on the IV stand beside my bed, then offered me a straw. Small sips, she instructed. Your throat's going to be sore from the intubation. The water was the best thing I'd ever tasted. I drank greedily until she pulled it away. What happened? My voice came out gravelly, barely recognizable. Where am I? Chicago Memorial Hospital. You were shot. She said it matter-of-factly, like she delivered this news regularly. Maybe she did. The bullet went through your shoulder, clean through, which is good news. You lost a lot of blood, but you're stable now. You've been unconscious for about 36 hours. Shot. The word echoed in my skull, making no sense. I was Mara Cooper, 29-year-old high school English teacher. I graded essays and argued with teenagers about symbolism in The Great Gatsby. People like me didn't get shot. Then memory hit like a second bullet. The parking garage. I'd been leaving the downtown library after picking up books for my classroom. Thursday evening, the sky already dark with that particular October gloom that settles over Chicago. I'd been thinking about my lesson plan for Monday, about whether I had enough milk at home for breakfast, about ordinary things. The man had appeared between parked cars. Tall, dressed in an expensive charcoal suit that seemed out of place in a public parking structure. Dark hair, strong features, moving with purpose toward the elevator. He'd been on his phone, distracted, not paying attention to his surroundings. I'd noticed the other man a split second later, emerging from behind a concrete pillar, 20 feet away, arms extended. Gun. The realization had been instantaneous and primal. The suited man was going to die, right there, and he had no idea. I hadn't thought, hadn't weighed consequences or considered my own safety. I'd just run. My body had slammed into his, shoving him sideways with every ounce of strength I possessed. He'd been solid, immovable, until suddenly he wasn't. We'd gone down together, hitting the oil-stained concrete hard. The gunshot had been deafening in the enclosed space. Then pain, bright and absolute, blooming in my shoulder. The suited man's weight on top of me, crushing, protective, shouting, more gunshots, squealing tires, then nothing. The man I was with, I said, struggling to sit up despite the nurse's restraining hand. Is he okay? Did he? He's fine, thanks to you, from what I understand. The nurse's expression softened. He's been here the entire time, actually. Hasn't left the hospital. Would you like me to tell him you're awake? Before I could answer, the door opened. A man entered, but not the one from the parking garage. This man was older, maybe 50, with silver-threaded dark hair and eyes that missed absolutely nothing. He wore a black suit that screamed expensive and moved with the controlled precision of someone trained in violence. Miss Cooper. His voice carried a faint accent I couldn't place. I'm Marcus Vitale. I work for the man you saved. How are you feeling? Confused, I admitted, and like I got hit by a truck. Understandable. He approached the bed, maintaining a respectful distance. You took a bullet meant for my employer. That's not something he takes lightly. The way he said employer made it sound like a euphemism for something else, something more significant. Who is he? I asked. The man I pushed. I don't even know his name. Marcus studied me for a long moment, as if weighing how much to reveal. His name is Damien Russo, and you saved his life at considerable risk to your own. Damien Russo. The name meant nothing to me, but the way Marcus said it suggested it should, like he was someone important, someone powerful. The police are going to want to speak with you, Marcus continued, when you're feeling up to it. They have questions about the incident. Incident. The clinical word felt wrong for what had happened. Someone had tried to commit murder in a public parking garage. I'd gotten in the way and nearly died for it. There are also some men waiting outside who would like to see you, Marcus added. Mr. Russo has been very concerned about your condition. I should have said no. Should have insisted on seeing the police first, on calling my sister, on establishing some kind of normalcy. Instead, I found myself nodding. Marcus stepped into the hallway. I heard low voices. Then the door opened again. The man who entered stole the air from my lungs. He was taller than I remembered, maybe 6'2", with the kind of presence that made a room feel smaller just by his occupation of it. Dark hair swept back from a face that belonged on a Roman coin strong jaw, aristocratic nose, eyes so dark they were nearly black. The expensive suit had been replaced by dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to reveal forearms marked with what looked like old scars. But it was his eyes that held me, intense, focused, burning with something I couldn't name as they found mine. Miss Cooper. His voice was deep, rough around the edges like aged whiskey. The accent I'd missed before was clear now Italian, subtle but unmistakable. You're awake, thank God. You're welcome? It came out as a question, uncertain. He moved closer to the bed, and I caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with something darker, more primal. Forgive me, I should have started with thank you. What you did. He stopped, jaw clenching. No one has ever done anything like that for me. I didn't really think about it, I admitted. I just saw the gun and reacted, which makes it even more remarkable. He pulled a chair closer, sitting down with fluid grace. Most people freeze when confronted with danger. You ran toward it. Pretty stupid in retrospect. Brave. The correction was firm. Stupidity implies lack of awareness. You saw exactly what was happening and chose to act anyway. That's courage, not stupidity. I studied him more carefully now. Up close, I could see the exhaustion around his eyes, the stubble darkening his jaw. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Have you been here the whole time? I asked. The nurse said, yes. No elaboration, no excuse, just simple confirmation. You didn't have to do that. I'm fine, or I will be. His expression darkened. You took a bullet meant for me. You nearly died because you saved my life. That creates a debt I can never fully repay. But I can certainly ensure you receive the best possible care. There was something in his tone, something possessive that made my pulse quicken for reasons I didn't want to examine. The doctors say you'll make a full recovery, he continued. The bullet missed all major arteries and nerves. You were lucky. Lucky. I almost laughed. I got shot. You're alive. Trust me, Miss Cooper. In my experience, that qualifies as lucky. In my experience. The phrase hung between us, loaded with implications. Who are you? I asked bluntly. Really? Not just a name. Who is Damien Russo that someone would try to kill him in a parking garage? He was silent for a long moment, those dark eyes holding mine. Then he leaned forward, elbows on his knees, close enough that I could see gold flecks in his irises. I'm someone with enemies, he said quietly. Someone who operates in spaces most people never see. Someone dangerous, Miss Cooper. And now, because of your heroism, you've been noticed by those enemies. Ice crystallized in my veins. What do you mean, noticed? The parking garage had security cameras, multiple angles. The police have the footage, which means others will too. People who want me dead will see you, see what you did, and they'll wonder who you are to me. But I'm nobody. The words tumbled out, desperate. I'm a high school English teacher. I don't know you. We're complete strangers. We're complete strangers, he corrected gently. Past tense. The moment you pushed me out of the way, that changed. In their eyes, you're connected to me now. That makes you relevant, potentially even useful. Horror crept up my spine. Useful how? As leverage. As a way to get to me. His jaw tightened. I won't let that happen. You can't just... I stopped, unsure what I was even protesting. I have a life. A job. A sister who's probably losing her mind with worry. You can't just decide I'm in danger and take over. Your sister knows you're safe. I had Marcus contact her personally. She's been kept informed of your condition. His tone gentled slightly. And I'm not taking over your life, Miss Cooper. I'm offering protection until we're certain you're not at risk. And if I refuse? His expression went carefully blank. If you're hooked on this story, Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Then you return to your apartment, to your classroom, to your routine. And you hope I'm wrong about the danger. Hope that the men who tried to kill me don't come looking for witnesses. Hope that your heroism doesn't get you killed. The blunt words hit like physical blows. I stared at him, trying to reconcile the composed, articulate man in front of me with the reality he was describing. A reality where strangers might hunt me down simply because I'd been in the wrong place at the wrong time. How long? My voice came out smaller than intended. If I accept this protection, how long are we talking about? A few weeks at most. Less if we identify the threat quickly and neutralize it. Neutralize. The euphemism wasn't subtle. You mean kill them. I mean ensure they can no longer pose a threat to anyone. His eyes never left mine. I won't lie to you, Miss Cooper. My world is violent, dangerous, built on foundations most people would find morally questionable. But I protect what's mine. And you, whether you intended it or not, are mine to protect now. The possessive declaration should have terrified me, should have sent me screaming for the nurses, the police, anyone who represented safety and normalcy. Instead, I found myself asking, where would I go? Something flickered in his expression. Relief, maybe, or satisfaction. My estate outside the city. It's secure, private. You'll have your own space, complete freedom within the grounds. Everything you need will be provided: clothing, food, internet access, so you can work remotely if your sister needs anything. It will be arranged. My sister. I seized on that. Jenna. She's 22, still in college. If something happened to me, she'll be protected as well. Damien interrupted. Discreetly. She won't even know there are people watching over her. But no harm will come to her because of this situation. You have my word. His word. As if that carried weight. As if promises from a man who admitted to living in violence meant something. But, looking into those dark eyes, I believed him. Okay. I heard myself say. Okay. I'll accept your protection, temporarily. The tension in his shoulders eased fractionally. Thank you, for trusting me, for giving me the chance to keep you safe. Don't thank me yet, I muttered. I haven't met your idea of protection. A hint of a smile curved his mouth, transforming his face from intimidating to devastating. Fair enough. The nurse returned, interrupting the moment. She checked my vitals, adjusted my medication, explained discharge procedures in language that felt foreign. I'd be released in 2 days if my recovery continued as expected. Physical therapy would be necessary, follow-up appointments scheduled. Through it all, Damien remained, a silent presence by my bedside. When the nurse finally left, he stood. I should let you rest, he said. Marcus will be posted outside your door. If you need anything at all, tell him. Posted outside? I echoed. Like a guard? Like protection. The hospital has excellent security, but I prefer my own people in situations like this. Situations where someone tried to kill you and I got in the way? Exactly. No apology, no softening of the reality, just brutal honesty. He moved toward the door, then paused, looking back. Miss Cooper, Mara. May I call you Mara? I nodded, too exhausted to protest the familiarity. You did something extraordinary. You saved my life without knowing who I was or what it would cost you. That's rare in my world. Perhaps in any world. His eyes held mine. I meant what I said. You're mine to protect now. And I always protect what's mine. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with machines and monitors, and the growing certainty that I'd just stepped into a life I couldn't begin to understand. The 2 days in the hospital passed in a strange blur. Nurses came and went. Doctors examined my wound, pronounced themselves satisfied with my healing. Jenna visited, tears streaming down her face as she clutched my good hand. You could have died, she kept saying. God, Mara, you could have died. I'd assured her I was fine, that everything would be okay. Lied smoothly about the man I'd saved, making him sound like a grateful stranger, rather than whatever Damien Russo actually was. Marcus stood outside during her visit, a silent sentinel. When Jenna asked about him, I'd said he was hospital security. More lies, piling up like sediment. Damien returned each evening, sitting in the chair beside my bed, bringing books he thought I might enjoy. We talked about literature, linguistics, the peculiarities of teaching teenagers, surface conversations that revealed nothing about who he really was or what world he inhabited. But sometimes, between the words, I caught glimpses. The way his jaw would tighten when his phone buzzed. The sharp way he'd speak into it, rapid Italian that my limited understanding couldn't follow. The controlled violence in how he should bractive cause. Moved, like every gesture was calculated for maximum efficiency. On the second night, I finally asked directly, "What do you do, Damien? For a living, I mean." He'd been reading a book I'd mentioned, 100 Years of Solitude, and he looked up at my question, marking his place with careful precision. "I run a family business," he said. "Import, export, various investments and holdings. My grandfather started it in the 1940s. My father expanded it. Now it's mine." That's not really an answer. His smile was sharp. "No, it's not. Will you tell me the truth? Eventually?" "Yes." No hesitation. "When you're stronger. When you're safe in my home and can't simply walk away before understanding what you've stumbled into." That's not reassuring. "It's not meant to be. It's meant to be honest." He set the book aside. "I could lie to you, Mara. Tell you I'm nothing more than a businessman with some rivals who don't play fair. But you're intelligent. You'd see through it eventually. Better to be direct now and earn your trust than deceive you and lose it. So you're a criminal." I'd been avoiding the word, but it hung between us anyway. "By certain legal definitions, yes." His expression never changed. "Though I prefer to think of myself as someone who operates in gray areas the law hasn't quite caught up to yet. That's semantics. Perhaps. But semantics matter when defining one's identity." He leaned forward. "I'm not a good man, Mara. I've done things you'd find morally questionable at best, reprehensible at worst. But I'm not pointlessly cruel. I don't harm innocents. And I protect the people under my care with everything I have. And I'm under your care now. Yes, whether you want to be or not." The bluntness should have scared me. Should have sent me straight to the police. To anyone who could establish some barrier between me and this dangerous stranger. Instead, I found myself asking, "Will you teach me? About your world, I mean. If I'm going to survive in it, even temporarily, I should understand the rules." Something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe. Or approval. "I'll teach you everything you need to know. Every rule, every danger, every way to stay safe." His voice dropped lower. "You saved my life. The least I can do is make sure that decision doesn't cost you yours." They discharged me on a Saturday morning. Damien arrived with Marcus and another man he introduced as Luca, younger and quieter, with eyes that never stopped scanning our surroundings. A wheelchair was required. Hospital policy. I hated it. Hated feeling helpless as Luca pushed me through corridors while Damien walked alongside, one hand resting casually on the chair's handle. The car waiting at the entrance wasn't what I expected. Black SUV, tinted windows, but somehow understated, not flashy or ostentatious, the kind of vehicle that blended in while costing more than my annual salary. Marcus opened the door. Damien helped me inside with gentle hands, careful of my healing shoulder. He slid in beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Comfortable?" he asked as we pulled into traffic. "As much as I can be while being kidnapped by the Mafia." The words hung in the air. Then Damien laughed, genuine and surprised. "I like you, Mara Cooper. You don't flinch from uncomfortable truths." "Is that what you are? Mafia?" The word is outdated and imprecise, but yes, essentially. He met my eyes. "My family has controlled certain interests in Chicago for 3 generations. Some legitimate, some less so. We have enemies who would very much like to see us fail. And one of those enemies tried to kill you in a parking garage." "Yes. Who?" His expression hardened. "That's what I'm trying to determine." We drove in silence for a while. Chicago passing outside the windows in familiar buildings and streets that suddenly felt foreign. I was leaving my life, all behind, stepping into something unknown and dangerous. "What about my apartment?" I asked. "My things?" "Already handled. Marcus arranged for your sister to pack a bag. Everything you need will be waiting at the estate." "You really do think of everything." "I try." He glanced at me, something soft in his expression. "I know this isn't what you wanted, that you're frightened and uncertain, but I promise you, Mara, you're safe with me, safer than you've ever been." The words should have sounded arrogant. Instead, they sounded like a vow. The estate materialized from Chicago's urban sprawl like something from another era. We'd driven for nearly an hour, buildings giving way to suburbs, then to countryside I hadn't known existed this close to the city. High stone walls appeared, running parallel to the road for what seemed like miles. Gates opened at our approach, wrought iron and security cameras, guards in discreet positions. The house beyond defied simple description. Not a mansion, though it certainly qualified. Something older, more substantial. 3 stories of limestone and leaded glass windows, surrounded by grounds that stretched toward distant tree lines, gardens precisely maintained, fountains catching afternoon light, and everywhere, the subtle presence of security. "Welcome to Belarus," Damien said as we pulled up to the entrance. "It's been in my family since 1947. My grandfather built it after the war. It's beautiful." The words felt inadequate and intimidating. The intimidation is intentional. This place is a fortress disguised as a home. He helped me from the SUV, his hand warm and steady at my elbow. But inside, I hope you'll find it comfortable. The entrance hall took my breath away. Marble floors, a sweeping staircase, artwork that looked original and priceless. But what struck me most was the warmth. Despite the grandeur, the space felt lived in, cared for. A woman appeared, perhaps 60, with silver-streaked dark hair pulled into an elegant twist. She wore a simple black dress and moved with quiet authority. "Mara, this is Sofia Vitale," Damien introduced. "She manages the household and has been with my family for 30 years. If you need anything, she's the person to ask. Welcome, Miss Cooper." Sophia's accent was thicker than Damien's, her smile genuine. "I've prepared the blue suite for you. I hope you'll find it comfortable." "Thank you," I managed, overwhelmed by the formality of it all. "Sophia will show you to your rooms," Damien said. "Rest, settle in. We'll have dinner at 7 if you're feeling up to it. If not, something can be brought to your suite." Before I could respond, he was gone, striding away with Marcus and Luca flanking him. Business to attend to. Enemies to track down. A life that had nothing to do with me except that I'd accidentally become part of it. Sophia guided me up the staircase with patient slowness, accommodating my injury without indefound, making me feel helpless. The second floor was a maze of corridors, but she navigated with ease, finally stopping at double doors near the end of one wing. "The blue suite," she announced, opening the doors. The rooms beyond stole my breath. Not just a bedroom, but a full apartment. Sitting area with overstuffed furniture and a fireplace. Bedroom with a king bed that looked like it belonged in a luxury hotel. Bathroom with marble and a tub that could fit 3 people. And everywhere, windows overlooking the gardens. My bag sat on a luggage rack, looking pathetically small in the vast space. "Mr. Russo had clothing brought in as well," Sophia said, opening an enormous closet. Inside hung garments I'd never owned: dresses, slacks, blouses, all in my size. "He thought you might need more than what your sister could pack. If anything doesn't fit or isn't to your taste, just let me know. We can have it adjusted or replaced." I stared at the clothes, trying to process this level of thoroughness. How did he know my size? "Mr. Russo is very observant." Sophia's smile suggested she found my question amusing. "There's also a desk with internet access for your work. The password is written down beside the computer. Is there anything else you need right now?" "I don't think so. This is all. 2 thous. It's overwhelming." Her expression softened. "I understand. This is a strange world to be pulled into suddenly. But you're safe here, Miss Cooper. Mr. Russo takes the protection of his guests very seriously, especially those who've saved his life." After Sophia left, I explored the suite slowly, taking inventory of everything provided. Toiletries in the bathroom, all high-end brands. A robe hanging on a hook that felt like wearing a cloud. Books on the nightstand, 100 Years of Solitude on top, the one Damien had been reading in the hospital. I lowered myself onto the bed, careful of my shoulder, and stared at the ceiling. 2 weeks ago, my biggest concern had been whether my sophomore class would understand the symbolism in Lord of the Flies. Now I was in a mobster's estate, wearing clothes he'd bought me, accepting protection from enemies I didn't understand. My phone buzzed. "Jenna, are you okay? This place looks insane from the pictures you sent. Are you sure you're safe?" I'd sent her photos from the car, trying to reassure her. Now I typed back, "I'm fine. It's actually really beautiful here. Don't worry about me. When can I visit?" "Soon. I'll let you know when things settle down." More lies. I didn't know when I'd see her again. Didn't know how to explain any of this without terrifying her or making myself sound insane. I dozed off eventually, exhausted from the move and the pain medication I'd taken. When I woke, late afternoon sun slanted through the windows, and someone had left a tray on the side table. Tea, still warm, and delicate pastries I didn't recognize but tasted incredible. At 6:30, I forced myself up and into the shower. The hot water felt like heaven on my aching muscles, though I had to keep my bandaged shoulder carefully protected. Dressing was a challenge. I finally settled on dark slacks and a loose silk blouse that didn't aggravate my injury. The face in the mirror looked like a stranger. Pale, shadows under my eyes, but something else too. A hardness around my mouth that hadn't been there before. Getting shot changed you, apparently. Made you look at the world differently. A knock came at 7 precisely. Sophia again, offering to escort me to dinner. Mr. Russo thought you might get lost, she explained with a smile. The house can be confusing at first. We descended to the first floor, then through corridors I'd never have found alone. The dining room was smaller than I expected, clearly meant for family rather than formal entertaining. A table that could seat 8, set now for 2 at one end. Damien stood when I entered, and I had to suppress my reaction. He'd changed into dark slacks and a black shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Without the suit jacket, I could see the lean muscle of his frame, the way he moved with that controlled grace that suggested violence kept carefully leashed. Mara. He pulled out a chair for me. How are you feeling? Did you rest? Some. I settled into the chair, hyper-aware of his proximity as he pushed it in. The rooms are beautiful. Thank you. I'm glad you approve. He took his seat across from me. Wine appeared, poured by a man I hadn't noticed enter. I wasn't sure if you drank, but this is from my family's vineyard in Tuscany. If you prefer something else, this is fine. I accepted the glass, taking a cautious sip. Rich, complex, probably costing more per bottle than I made in a week. The first course arrived some kind of seafood I couldn't identify, arranged artfully on fine china. Everything was perfect, elegant, and I felt wildly out of place. You're uncomfortable, Damien observed, reading me too easily. This isn't my world, I admitted. I'm a teacher who lives in a studio apartment and shops at Target. This level of luxury is disorienting. Understandable. But you'll adjust. He took a bite of his food. Tell me about your teaching. You said you work with sophomores? The subject change was deliberate, giving me solid ground. I found myself talking about my students, about the challenges of making literature relevant to teenagers raised on social media, about the small victories that made the job worthwhile. Damien listened with genuine interest, asking intelligent questions, sharing observations about education and language that revealed a sophisticated mind behind the dangerous exterior. You studied literature yourself, I said. Not a question. At Oxford, actually. English literature, with a focus on 20th century modernism. He smiled at my surprised expression. What, you assumed I was uneducated? That violence and culture can't coexist? I assumed you didn't have time for university while running a criminal empire. I inherited the empire at 28, after my father's death. Before that, I had a relatively normal education. My father insisted on it, said that understanding art and philosophy made you a better leader. His expression darkened. He was murdered by a rival family trying to expand into our territory. The casual way he delivered that information sent chills through me. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a brutal man who taught me brutality, but he also taught me that power without refinement is just thuggery. Damien set down his fork. I've tried to be different, smarter, less reliant on violence as the first solution. Is it working? Ask me again when we find who tried to kill me. The second course arrived, buying me time to process. We ate in companionable silence for a few minutes before I couldn't hold back my questions any longer. Tell me about your world, I said. You promised you would. The rules, the dangers, what I need to know to survive here, even temporarily. Damien studied me for a long moment, weighing something. Then he nodded. All right, but understand once you know these things, you can't unknow them. Your perception of reality will change permanently. I think that happened when I got shot. Fair point. He leaned back, wine glass in hand. My family, the Russos, are one of 5 organizations that control Chicago's underground economy. We have territories, interests, revenue streams, both legal and illegal. We employ thousands of people, though most don't know who ultimately signs their paychecks. What kind of illegal interests? The usual. Gambling, loan sharking, some drug distribution, though I'm trying to phase that out. Protection rackets, though I prefer to call them security services. His tone was matter-of-fact, no apology. We also have legitimate businesses, restaurants, construction companies, waste management. The legal ventures provide cover, and increasingly, most of our actual revenue. And the violence? Necessary. Unfortunately. When you operate outside legal frameworks, you can't call the police to resolve disputes. Other methods become required. He met my eyes. I won't lie to you, Mara. I've killed people, ordered deaths, made decisions that cost lives. But I don't kill indiscriminately. Violence, in my world, is strategic. A last resort when other options fail. My stomach churned, but I forced myself to keep listening. The 5 families maintain a balance, he continued. Territory agreements, revenue sharing in certain ventures, rules about civilian involvement and police attention. It's not perfect, but it prevents all-out war. And someone broke those rules by trying to kill you in public. Exactly. Which means either one of the other families has decided to make a move, or someone within my own organization is betraying me. His jaw tightened. That's what I'm trying to determine. And me, where do I fit in all this? You're an unknown variable. My enemies will wonder who you are, why you saved me, whether you're important to me. He set down his glass. In my world, people don't act without self-interest. The idea that you risked your life for a stranger without knowing who I was or what I could do for you, that's incomprehensible to them. So they'll think I'm connected to you somehow. Family lover, something like that. Yes, which makes you a potential target, either for leverage or to hurt me emotionally. His eyes burned with intensity. I won't let that happen. The possessiveness in his voice sent an unwelcome flutter through my stomach. How long will it take to figure out who's behind this? Days, maybe weeks. My people are investigating. We'll find them. He spoke with absolute certainty. And when we do, the threat will be eliminated. You mean you'll kill them? I mean I'll ensure they can never threaten anyone I protect again. He leaned forward. Does that disturb you? Knowing what I'm capable of? Yes, I admitted. But I'd be lying if I said it only disturbed me. Part of me is relieved that someone that dangerous is protecting me instead of hunting me. Honest. I appreciate that. He studied me with an expression I couldn't read. You're not like anyone I've met before, Mara Cooper. Most people in your situation would be terrified, demanding to leave, or trying to use the connection for advantage. You're just trying to understand. Understanding seems more useful than panic. It is, which is why you're going to survive this. He stood, offering his hand. Come, there's something I want to show you. I hesitated only a moment before taking his hand. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong, and he led me through the house to a set of French doors that opened onto a terrace. The garden stretched before us, lit now by strategic floodlights that created pockets of illumination in the darkness. Behind them, I could see the distant tree line and the faint lights of what might be guard posts. This is my favorite view, Damien said quietly, especially at night. It reminds me that beauty and danger coexist, that you can have both if you're strong enough to maintain the balance. We stood in comfortable silence, his hand still holding mine. The October air was cold, but I barely felt it. I need you to understand something, he said finally. What's happening between us, this connection? It's complicated by circumstances, by the danger and the forced proximity, but it's also real, at least for me. My breath caught. Damien, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for a response. He turned to face me, his free hand rising to cut my cheek. I'm just telling you that somewhere between you saving my life and me vowing to protect yours, this became more than obligation. You fascinate me, challenge me, make me want to be worthy of the heroism you showed. I'm not a hero, I just reacted. That's what makes it heroic. His thumb traced my cheekbone, the touch sending electricity through me. And whether you realize it or not, you've changed everything. For me, for how I see the world and my place in it. I should have stepped back, should have established boundaries. This was a man who'd admitted to murder, who lived in violence, who represented everything I should fear. Instead, I found myself leaning into his touch. This is a terrible idea, I whispered. The worst, he agreed. His mouth descended toward mine slowly, giving me time to retreat. I didn't. The kiss was gentle at first, questioning, then deeper as I responded, my good hand fisting in his shirt. He tasted like wine and danger and something indefinably him. His arms came around me carefully, mindful of my injury, pulling me against the solid warmth of his body. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. I should go, I managed. It's late, and my shoulder. Of course. But his arms didn't release me immediately. Mara, I meant what I said. You're safe here. With me. I'll protect you with everything I have. I know. And terrifyingly, I did know. Believed him despite every rational objection. He walked me back to my suite, hand at the small of my back, a silent presence in the dark corridors. At my door, he pressed a kiss to my forehead. Sleep well. Sophia will bring breakfast whenever you wake. And if you need anything at all, there's a phone by the bed. Just press one. Then he was gone, leaving me alone with my racing heart and the growing certainty that I was in far more danger than any external threat could pose. Because I was falling for Damien Russo, and that might be the most dangerous thing of all. The days developed a rhythm. Mornings belonged to work I'd arranged with my principal to take a medical leave, using my injury as the official reason, but I couldn't bear to be completely disconnected. So I graded essays remotely, participated in department meetings via video call, maintained the fiction that everything was normal. Afternoons I spent exploring the estate under Sophia's patient guidance. The library became my sanctuary, 2 stories of books in multiple languages, reading nooks tucked into corners, windows overlooking gardens, where I'd sometimes see Damien walking with Marcus or other men I didn't recognize. Physical therapy happened daily. A specialist came to the estate, a no-nonsense woman named Dr. Chen, who pushed me through exercises that left me sweating and aching but undeniably stronger. And every evening, dinner with Damien. We talked about everything and nothing. He taught me about wine, about art, about the history of Chicago's underground economy in terms that made it sound almost academic. I told him about my students, about the sister I was raising after our parents died, about the life I'd built from nothing that now felt impossibly distant. The attraction between us grew like a living thing, charging the air whenever we were in the same room. But he never pushed, never took advantage of my vulnerability, just this constant, patient presence that made me feel simultaneously safe and utterly reckless. A week into my stay, everything shifted. I woke to shouting, male voices raised in argument somewhere below my windows. By the time I threw on a robe and reached my door, it had stopped. But the tension in the house was palpable. Sophia appeared with breakfast, her expression carefully neutral. Mr. Russo had to attend to some urgent business. He asked me to let you know he'll be gone most of the day. What happened? Not my place to say, Miss Cooper, but I'm sure he'll explain when he returns. The day dragged. I tried to work, to focus on grading essays about Romeo and Juliet, but my mind kept wandering. What kind of urgent business required shouting? Who had Damien been arguing with? He didn't return for dinner. Sophia brought a tray to my room instead, apologizing for the disruption. Is he all right? I asked, unable to hide my concern. He's fine. Just dealing with complications. She hesitated. There are things happening, Miss Cooper. Things that will affect your time here. But Mr. Russo should be the one to tell you. Sleep eluded me. I lay in the enormous bed, watching shadows play across the ceiling, imagining worst-case scenarios. The knock came after midnight, soft, hesitant, not Damien's usual confident knock. I opened the door to find him leaning against the frame, exhausted and disheveled. His white shirt was stained with something dark blood, I realized with a lurch of my stomach. His knuckles were split and raw. Damien, my God. I'm fine, but his voice was rough, strained. Can I come in? I pulled him inside, closing the door behind us. Up close I could see the cut above his eyebrow, the bruising starting to form along his jaw. What happened? We found them. The people who tried to kill me. He moved to the sitting area, lowering himself into a chair with a wince. It was someone inside my organization. A captain who thought he could take my place if I died. A captain? One of my senior people. Someone I trusted. His jaw clenched. He'd been working with the Marchetti family, promised them territory in exchange for their backing once I was dead. Tonight we confronted him. The blood on his shirt, the split knuckles. I didn't need details to understand what confronted meant. Is he dead? Not yet, but he will be. No hesitation, no regret, just cold certainty. He betrayed the family, worked with our enemies, put innocent people at risk, including you. The penalty for that is death. I should have been horrified, should have seen the violence he was capable of and run. Instead, I found myself moving to him, carefully taking his injured hand in mine. Let me clean these. His dark eyes met mine, something raw and vulnerable in their depths. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, I admitted. But not of you. Never of you. I retrieved the first aid kit from the bathroom, kneeling beside his chair to clean his knuckles. He watched me work in silence, tension gradually easing from his shoulders. "This changes things," he said finally. "With the traitor identified and dealt with, the immediate threat to you is eliminated. You're free to leave, to return to your life. I'll still provide protection, discreet surveillance to ensure the Marchettis don't try anything, but you don't have to stay here anymore." My hand stilled on his. "And if I want to stay?" His breath caught. "Why would you want that?" "Because somewhere between you taking over my life and me slowly losing my mind in your guest suite, this started to feel like home." I met his eyes. "Because I'm falling for you, Damien Russo, and that terrifies me more than any external danger ever could." "Mara," his voice broke on my name. "You don't. I know what you're saying. You've been here under duress, isolated, dependent on me. Stockholm Syndrome is real. What you feel might just be, don't." I cut him off firmly. "Don't dismiss what I'm feeling because it's inconvenient or complicated. I'm a grown woman. I know my own mind. And I know that when I think about returning to my apartment, to my normal life, all I feel is loss. Not relief, not freedom. Loss." He pulled me up, into his lap, careful of my healing shoulder. His forehead pressed to mine. "I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things. We'll do more terrible things before this life ends. You deserve better than that. Maybe. But you're the man I want." I cupped his face, feeling the stubble rough against my palms. "So tell me to leave. Tell me you don't want me here, or admit that you feel this too." "I felt it since the hospital," he admitted roughly. "Since I watched you sleep and realized you'd fundamentally changed something in me. You make me want to be better. Want to build something that's more than just power and violence. Then let me stay. Not as a guest under protection. As whatever this is. Whatever we're becoming." His answer was to kiss me, desperate and claiming. I kissed him back with equal hunger, weeks of tension finally breaking. His hands tangled in my hair, mine clutched his shoulders, and the world narrowed to just this heat and need, and the dangerous certainty that I was exactly where I belonged. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Stay," he whispered. "God help us both, but stay." "Okay," I smiled against his mouth. "Okay." We stayed like that for a long time, wrapped around each other, while outside his world continued turning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, new complications to navigate. But tonight, I'd made my choice, and somehow, impossibly, it felt like the first real choice I'd made in years. The next morning, I woke in my own bed alone, but with the memory of Damien's goodbye kiss still burning on my lips. He'd left around 3, needing to handle the aftermath of the confrontation with his traitorous captain, but his scent lingered on my sheets, and I found myself smiling despite the violence that had preceded our confession. Sophia arrived with breakfast and knowing eyes. "Mr. Russo asked me to tell you he'll be occupied most of the day, but he'd like you to join him for dinner. Something special," he said. "Something special?" Her smile widened. "I believe he's planning to properly ask you to stay. Not as a guest, but as, well, that's for him to say." After she left, I showered and dressed with more care than usual, choosing a deep green dress from the closet of clothes Damien had provided. It fit perfectly, flowing fabric that accommodated my still healing shoulder while making me feel beautiful for the first time in weeks. My phone buzzed. "Jenna, I'm coming to visit. This weekend." "No. Arguments. I need to see with my own eyes that you're okay." My stomach clenched. Jenna, meeting Damien, seeing this world I'd stepped into. The two parts of my life colliding in ways I couldn't control. "Okay," I typed back. "Saturday. I'll send you the address." I spent the day in nervous energy, unable to focus on work or reading. Instead, I found myself wandering the estate, really seeing it for the first time without the haze of injury and confusion. The guards who patrolled were discreet, but ever present, men who nodded respectfully when I passed, their eyes constantly scanning for threats. The security system was extensive cameras, sensors, multiple layers of protection I'd barely noticed before. This was Damien's fortress, and he'd invited me to make it mine. In the library, I found Marcus reviewing security footage on a laptop. He looked up when I entered, then closed the screen with practiced ease. "Miss Cooper, can I help you with something?" "I wanted to ask you about Damien." I settled into a nearby chair. "About what happened last night." Marcus's expression remained neutral. That's not really my place to discuss. Please, if I'm staying here, if this is becoming my life too, I need to understand. What happened to the man who betrayed him? He studied me for a long moment, weighing something. Then he sighed. Giovanni Marcelli. He'd been with the family for 15 years, worked his way up from soldier to captain. Mr. Russo trusted him, gave him territory, included him in strategic decisions, and he used that trust to plan an assassination. Yes, working with the Marchetti family, one of our rivals. The plan was to kill Mr. Russo, make it look like a random attack, then step in during the chaos to take control. Marcus's jaw tightened. He would have succeeded if not for you. What happens to him now? Traditional justice. He betrayed the family, endangered civilians, worked with our enemies. There's only one penalty for that. Marcus met my eyes. He'll be dead by morning. Quick, cleaner than he deserves. The casual way he delivered that information should have horrified me, should have sent me running. Instead, I found myself nodding, accepting it as simply the reality of this world. And the Marchettis? Will they retaliate? Doubtful. They were using Giovanni as much as he was using them. With him gone and their involvement exposed, they'll back off. Starting a war over a failed coup isn't worth the cost. He leaned forward slightly. You're safe, Miss Cooper. The immediate threat is over. But there will always be threats. That's just part of this life. Yes, but Mr. Russo is very good at managing them. He's kept this organization stable and profitable for 7 years, avoided most of the violence his father embraced. You're safer with him than you would be anywhere else. I wanted to believe that. Wanted to trust that choosing Damien wasn't choosing constant danger. Can I ask you something else? I said. Why does he do this? Run this organization, live this life. He's educated, intelligent, could have done anything. Why choose this? Marcus smiled faintly. You'd have to ask him that. But I will say he didn't choose it initially. It was thrust upon him when his father died. But he's made it his own, transformed it from his father's brutal legacy into something more strategic, more sustainable. He paused. You've changed him too, you know. I've never seen him like this with anyone. The way he looks at you, talks about you when you're not around. It's unprecedented. Heat crept up my neck. I didn't mean to complicate his life. Complications aren't always bad. Sometimes they're exactly what's needed to grow. Marcus stood. He's planning something special for tonight. You should prepare for that. Damien found me in the gardens that evening as the sun was setting. He'd changed into a dark suit that emphasized his powerful frame, and he moved toward me with that predatory grace that never failed to make my pulse quicken. Mara. He took my hands, lifting one to his lips. You look beautiful. Sophia said you had something special planned. I do. But first, walk with me? We strolled through paths I'd explored earlier, but everything looked different in the golden hour light. He didn't speak for several minutes, just held my hand while the world turned around us. The man who betrayed me is dead, he finally said. It was handled this afternoon. Quickly, without suffering, despite what he deserved, Marcus told me. I wanted you to hear it from me, to understand what justice means in my world. He stopped walking, turning to face me. If that changes how you feel, if you can't live with that reality, it doesn't. I squeezed his hand. I'm not naive enough to think I can change what you are or what this world requires. I'm just trying to accept it, to find my place in it. Your place. He pulled something from his pocket. Not a ring, I realized with relief. Something smaller, a key. This is yours. To the estate, to every room, to everything I have. No more guest suite. No more borrowed clothes. This is your home now, if you want it. My throat tightened. Damien, I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. That's a conversation for when you've had more time, when you're certain this is what you want. His thumb traced circles on my wrist, finding my racing pulse. But I am asking you to build a life with me, to stay not out of fear or obligation, but because you choose this. Choose me. I do choose you. The words came easily, naturally. I choose this terrifying, complicated, dangerous life because it's the only one that feels real anymore. His kiss was reverent, claiming, a seal on promises neither of us dared voice yet. When we broke apart, he rested his forehead against mine. I have one more thing to show you. He led me back to the house. But instead of the dining room, we went to the door I hadn't noticed before. Behind it, stairs descended into what I assumed was a basement. Where are we going? Somewhere I want you to understand. The reality of what protecting you means. The basement opened into a space that took my breath away. Not a wine cellar or storage area. A command center. Monitors covered one wall, showing security feeds from around the estate and apparently from various locations throughout Chicago. Multiple workstations, communications equipment, an arsenal of weapons secured behind glass. 3 men worked at stations, monitoring feeds, tracking something on computers. They looked up when we entered, nodding respectfully to Damien. "This is our security hub," Damien explained. "Active 24/7. From here, we monitor all our holdings, track threats, coordinate responses." He pulled up a feed that showed my apartment building. "This is your place. We've had eyes on it since the night you were shot." Another screen showed Jenna's college. "Campus. Your sister. She's never alone, never unprotected, though she doesn't know it." My breath caught. "You've been watching her this whole time?" "Protecting her. There's a difference." He pulled up more feeds: my school, Jessica's workplace, every location tied to my normal life. "Anyone connected to you is covered. If the Marchettis had tried to use your loved ones as leverage, we'd have known immediately and responded." The scope of it was staggering. The resources dedicated not just to my safety, but to everyone I cared about. "This is what it means to be mine," Damien said quietly. "Total protection, absolute security, but also constant surveillance. Privacy becomes a luxury we manage rather than a right we take for granted." He turned me to face him. "I need you to understand that before you fully commit. This isn't just about you and me. It's about everyone you bring into this world with you." "Jenna," I said. "She's coming this weekend." "I know," Marcus informed. "When me?" He didn't ask how I knew about the surveillance, which means we need to have a conversation about what you'll tell her, how much she'll know. We climbed back upstairs to his private study. He poured 2 glasses of wine, then settled into the chair behind his desk. "Your sister is in college. 22, studying psychology, lives in an apartment near campus with 2 roommates. Serious relationship with a law student named David Chen. She's worried about you but trying to respect your space." The thorough knowledge shouldn't have surprised me anymore. How much of that is from surveillance versus asking me? 90% surveillance. I've had a file on her since the day after you were shot." He met my eyes. "In my world, knowledge is survival. I know everything about everyone connected to people I protect. That would normally be creepy. But given the context, it's just practical paranoia." I took a sip of wine. "What do I tell her when she visits?" "As much or as little as you're comfortable with. She'll see the estate, the security, draw her own conclusions. You can maintain the fiction that I'm just a wealthy businessman if you prefer. Or you can tell her the truth and trust her to keep it quiet. And if she can't handle it, if she tries to convince me to leave, then you make your choice. But I won't let her put herself or you in danger by acting rashly." His tone hardened slightly. "If she becomes a security risk, she'll be managed. Carefully, respectfully, but managed." The bluntness was jarring. "Managed how?" "Surveillance would increase. Communications would be monitored. If necessary, we'd limit her movements until the situation stabilized." He leaned forward. "I don't want to do any of that, Mara. But I will if she threatens what we're building." I should have been angry, should have defended my sister's autonomy. Instead, I found myself nodding, accepting this as another cost of the life I'd chosen. "I'll talk to her, explain enough that she understands without knowing everything." I set down my wine glass. "And if she can't accept it, I'll find a way to maintain the relationship from a distance. That would hurt you." "Less than losing you would." Something shifted in his expression. "You mean that?" "I do." The certainty in my voice surprised me. "Jenna is my family, the person I've been raising and protecting for years, but she's also building her own life now, and I'm choosing mine. With you." He crossed to me, pulling me into his arms with careful tenderness. "I'll make it work. I promise. Whatever relationship you need with your sister, we'll find a way to maintain it safely." "Thank you." I buried my face in his chest, breathing in his scent, for understanding that she matters, that I can't just cut her off completely. Family is complicated. Believe me, I understand that better than most. We stood like that for a long time, holding each other while a weight of our choices settled around us. This was real now. Not just protection or circumstance, but a genuine commitment to building something together. Dinner was intimate, just the 2 of us in a small room I hadn't seen before. The food was incredible Italian dishes that Damien said were his grandmother's recipes, prepared by a chef who'd been with the family for decades. We talked about everything and nothing. He told me stories about growing up in this world, about his mother who died when he was young, about his father's brutal legacy and his own efforts to be different. I shared my own history: parents who died in a car accident when I was 24, leaving me to raise a teenage Jenna, the struggles of finishing my teaching degree while working 2 jobs, the slow, painful process of building stability from nothing. "You've been protecting people your whole life," Damien observed. "Your sister, your students. Maybe that's why you didn't hesitate in that parking garage. It's who you are fundamentally." "Maybe. I hadn't thought of it that way. What about you? Who are you fundamentally?" He considered the question seriously. "Someone who craves control because chaos killed my father. Someone who values loyalty above almost everything because betrayal is so common in my world. Someone who spent 7 years trying to build something sustainable, rather than just destructive. And now I'm someone who's fallen for a high school English teacher and is trying to figure out how to deserve her." My heart clenched. "You don't have to deserve me. You just have to choose me. Every day. The same way I'm choosing you. That I can do." He reached across the table, taking my hand. "Every day. For as long as you'll have me." Later, after dinner, he walked me back to my suite. At the door, he pulled me close, kissing me with a hunger that made my knees weak. "Stay with me tonight," he murmured against my mouth. "Not in the guest suite. In my rooms. In my bed." Is that appropriate, given that I'm supposed to be settling into my own space? Probably not. His smile was wicked. But I don't care about appropriate. I care about falling asleep with you in my arms and waking up to see you in my bed. I should have said no. Should have maintained some boundaries, some space to think clearly. But I was tired of should, tired of caution. "Yes," I breathed. "Yes." He swept me into his arms despite my protest about my shoulder, carrying me through corridors to a wing I hadn't explored. His suite was masculine and elegant, dark colors, heavy furniture, windows overlooking the same gardens I'd grown to love. The bed dominated the space, massive and inviting. He set me down gently, then stepped back. "Are you sure? We don't have to—" I silenced him with a kiss, pouring weeks of tension and want into it. His hands tangled in my hair, mine worked at the buttons of his shirt, and rational thought dissolved into pure sensation. We took our time, learning each other with hands and mouths, mapping scars and sensitive spots. My healing shoulder required careful navigation, but Damien was patient, gentle, asking permission with every touch. When he finally pushed inside me, filling me completely, I gasped at the overwhelming rightness of it. This was what I'd been missing, what I'd been searching for without knowing it. Not just physical pleasure, but connection, trust, the terrifying vulnerability of being completely known. He moved slowly at first, watching my face, adjusting his rhythm to what made me gasp and arch. Then faster as I urged him on, both of us chasing something just out of reach. When it finally broke over us, I cried out his name, nails digging into his shoulders as pleasure crashed through me in waves. He followed moments later, forehead pressed to mine, my name a prayer on his lips. Afterward, we lay tangled together, sweat slicked and breathless. He pulled a sheet over us, then tucked me against his, sighed. "I love you," he said quietly into the darkness. "I know it's too soon, that we've only known each other a few weeks, but I love you, Mara Cooper, and I needed you to know that." Tears pricked my eyes. "I love you too. God help me, but I do." He held me tighter. "Then we'll figure out the rest together." I fell asleep in his arms, safe and claimed and more terrified than I'd ever been, because now I had everything to lose. The next 3 days passed in a blur of domesticity that felt surreal given the circumstances. I worked from Damien's study while he handled business. We had meals together, walked the grounds, made love with increasing urgency as if we couldn't get enough of each other. But underneath the honeymoon phase, reality lurked. Security briefings happened in low voices. Phone calls were taken in Italian, terse and tense. The traitor was dead, but the ramifications were still unfolding. Friday evening, Damien found me in the library, his expression grave. "We need to talk. About tomorrow. About your sister's visit." I set down my book. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. But I need you to understand what her presence here means, the message it sends." He sat beside me. "When your sister arrives, my organization will know. So will the other families. They'll see that I'm integrating you fully into my life, that you're not just temporary protection. And that's a problem. It makes you a permanent target. As long as you were just a guest recovering from injuries, you could be dismissed as incidental. But bringing your family here, making this your home, that signals commitment. Intent. Intent to what? Eventually marry you. Make you family officially. In my world, that means you'd have the Russo name, all the protection and danger that comes with it. His eyes held mine. I'm not proposing tonight, but I am telling you that this is where we're heading if you stay. And tomorrow, when Jenna arrives, everyone will know it. My heart raced. Marriage. Family. A future I'd barely dared imagine crystallizing into something real and immediate. Are you asking me to keep her away? No. I'm asking you to be certain this is what you want before you take this step. Because once your sister walks through those gates, there's no going back to the fiction that you're just a woman I'm protecting temporarily. You'll be mine, publicly and permanently. The possessiveness should have rankled. Instead, it sent heat flooding through me. I'm certain, I said firmly. I love you. I'm choosing this life, this world, you. Whatever that means, however dangerous it becomes, I'm choosing it. Relief flooded his expression. He kissed me hard, claiming, "Then tomorrow, we make it official. Your sister sees the truth, and the rest of my world learns that you're not going anywhere." What do I tell her? Everything. She deserves the truth. He pulled back, studying my face. But understand, once she knows, she becomes part of this, too. Surveillance, protection, the constant awareness of danger. She can't unknow what you tell her. I know, and I'll make sure she understands that. I took his hand. But I can't lie to her, Damien. Not about something this big. She'll see through it anyway. Then we'll tell her together. Show her this world, explain the reality, and let her decide how much involvement she wants. He squeezed my fingers. But Mara, if she can't handle it, if she becomes a liability, you'll manage her. I know. The acceptance came easier now. Just promise me you'll be kind about it. She's young, still figuring out her life. Don't scare her more than necessary. I promise. He kissed my forehead. For you, I'll be gentle. Jenna arrived Saturday afternoon in an Uber that was turned away at the gate until Marcus verified her identity. She texted me frantically. "They won't let me in. What kind of place is this?" "It's okay. Give the guard your ID. They're just being careful." When she finally pulled up to the house, I was waiting on the steps. She emerged from the car slowly, eyes wide as she took in the estate. "Mara, what the hell is this place?" I crossed to her, pulling her into a hug despite her stiffness. "It's complicated. Come inside. We'll explain everything." Damien waited in the entrance hall, and I watched Jenna's expression shift as she took him in. Recognition, then calculation, then wariness. "You're the man from the news," she said. "The one Mara saved. Damien Russo." "I am." He inclined his head respectfully. "It's good to meet you finally, Jenna. Your sister speaks of you constantly." "Does she?" Jenna's tone was flat. She turned to me. "Can we talk? Privately? Anything you need to say can be said in front of Damien," I said gently. "He's not going anywhere. And honestly, you need to hear what he has to say too." We settled in a sitting room, Jenna perched on the edge of a chair while Damien and I took the sofa. The distance felt symbolic. "I'm going to be direct," I began. "Because you deserve the truth. Damien isn't just a businessman. He runs a criminal organization, the Italian Mafia, essentially. The man who tried to kill him in that parking garage did so because of that world." Jenna's face went pale. "You're joking." "I'm not. And I'm telling you this because I'm not leaving. I'm staying here, with him, despite what that means. You're insane." She stood abruptly. "Mara, you can't be serious. The Mafia? You're a teacher. You don't belong in that world." "I didn't think I did either. But I love him, Jenna. And he loves me. And I'm making the choice to build a life here. A life surrounded by criminals and violence." She whirled on Damien. "What the hell did you do to her? Brainwash her? Threaten her?" "Neither." His voice stayed level. "I offered protection when she was in danger, then fell in love with her while she recovered. Everything that's happened since has been her choice." "Choice." Jenna laughed bitterly. "What choice does she really have? You probably made sure she knows too much to leave safely. Classic manipulation." "Jenna." I stood, moving to her. "Stop. This isn't manipulation. Yes, I know things that make me a security concern, but I'm staying because I want to, not because I'm trapped. You're 29 years old, Mara. You've spent your entire adult life raising me, working yourself to death to provide. And the first time someone offers you luxury and protection, you just throw away everything we built? The words cut deeper than I expected. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm choosing something different than what I planned. That's allowed. Not when what you're choosing could get you killed. She grabbed my hands. Please, come home with me. Right now. We'll figure out the safety stuff some other way. But don't stay here. Don't throw your life away for a man you barely know. I looked at Damien, who watched silently, letting me handle this. Then back to my sister. I love you, Jenna. You're my family, the person I've dedicated years to protecting and raising. But you're grown now. You have your own life, your own future. I squeezed her hands. And I'm building mine. Here, with Damien. Then you're choosing him over me. I'm choosing me. For the first time in 10 years, I'm making a selfish choice about what I want rather than what's expected or responsible. Tears stung my eyes. I need you to understand that. And if you can't, I need you to at least respect it. Jenna pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. I can't believe this. My sister, the one who taught me right from wrong, choosing to live with a criminal. Your sister who taught you that people are more complicated than labels. I corrected gently. Damien has done things I don't condone, but he's also protected me, cared for me, shown me a kind of love I didn't know existed. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm saying he's mine. And what? About when the violence touches you directly? When someone tries to kill you to get to him? What then? Then I'll have the best protection in Chicago. I met her eyes. Jenna, I've been in danger since the night I pushed him out of the way. Leaving doesn't change that. But staying means I have resources, security, people dedicated to keeping me safe. And me? Her voice cracked. Am I in danger now too? You're protected, Damien spoke for the first time in minutes. Have been since the day after Mara was shot. You've never been alone. Never been vulnerable, though you haven't known it. That won't change regardless of what you decide about your relationship with your sister. Jenna stared at him. You've been watching me? Protecting you, he corrected. There's a difference. And it will continue as long as Mara is in my life. You're family to her, which makes you family to me. That means you're under the Russo protection whether you want it or not. That's insane. That's reality. He stood, moving to stand beside me. I understand this is overwhelming, that you need time to process. Sophia can show you to a guest room if you want to stay tonight, think things through. Or we can have someone drive you home. Either way, you're safe. You're protected, and you're always welcome here. Jenna looked between us, clearly struggling. Then she turned to me. I need to think. Can I walk around or something? Clear my head? Of course. The grounds are beautiful. I hugged her despite her stiffness. Take all the time you need. After she left, escorted by one of Damien's men, I collapsed onto the sofa. That went well, I said sarcastically. Better than it could have. He sat beside me, pulling me against his side. She's scared. She'll come around once she processes. And if she doesn't? Then we find a way to maintain your relationship at a distance. But I think she will. He kissed my temple. She loves you too much to cut you off. Completely. I wanted to believe that. Needed to believe it. We gave Jenna an hour before going to find her. She was in the gardens, sitting on a bench overlooking the reflecting pool. Her face was red from crying. I don't understand, she said when we approached. How you can just accept all this. The violence, the danger, the complete upheaval of everything you are. I sat beside her. Because the alternative is worse. Going back to my apartment, to my classroom, to my normal life, it would feel empty now. Like I was just going through motions instead of actually living. You could die here. I could die anywhere. Car accident, random violence, illness. There are no guarantees, Jenna. But here, with Damien, I feel alive in a way I haven't in years. She was quiet for a long time. Then she looked at Damien, who'd remained standing at a respectful distance. If anything happens to her, she said, voice hard, if your world gets her killed, I'll never forgive you. Neither will I, he replied simply, which is why I'll do everything in my power to prevent it. Jenna turned back to me. I don't like this. I don't approve, but I love you too much to lose you. Her voice cracked. So I'll try. I'll try to understand, to accept it. Just promise me you'll be careful, that you'll keep me in your life even if I can't be part of this world. I promise. I pulled her into a fierce hug. I promise, Jenna. You're my sister. That doesn't change just because my circumstances did. We stayed in the gardens as the sun set, talking about everything and nothing. Slowly, gradually, I watched Jenna relax. She asked questions about the estate, about Damien's legitimate businesses, about my daily life here. I answered honestly, showing her that despite the danger, there was also beauty and normalcy and even happiness. By dinner, she was almost comfortable. Watching her interact with Damien, seeing him charm and reassure her with patient kindness, I fell in love with him even more. This was the man I'd chosen. Dangerous, yes. Complicated, absolutely. But also capable of such gentleness, such care for the people I loved. As Jenna prepared to leave that evening, she pulled me aside. "He really loves you," she said quietly. "I can see it. The way he looks at you, talks about you, makes sure you're comfortable. It's real. I know. Just be careful, okay? Don't lose yourself in his world." "I won't, I promise." She hugged me hard, then pulled back with tears in her eyes. "Call me more, and maybe I can visit again when I'm more and adjusted to all this. Anytime you want. This is my home now, which means you're always welcome." After she left, Damien found me on the terrace, looking out over the grounds. "Thank you," I said, "for being patient with her, for not pushing when she got defensive. She's your family. That means she matters." He wrapped his arms around me from behind, and I meant what I said. She's under our protection now, whether she realizes it or not. Our protection. I leaned back against him. I like the sound of that. Good, because in about 3 months, I'm going to ask you to marry me, officially make you family, and then you'll be protected by the full weight of the Russo name. My breath caught. 3 months? I'd do it tomorrow, but I want you to be certain. Want us to have time to build this, to make sure you can live with all the complications. He turned me to face him. But make no mistake, Mara Cooper. You're going to be my wife. The only question is when. Ask me now. His eyes widened. What? Ask me now. I'm certain. I know what I want, and waiting 3 months won't change anything except give me more time to be anxious about it. I cupped his face. So ask me, Damien Russo. Make it official. He searched my face for a long moment. Then slowly, he dropped to one knee, pulling a box from his pocket that I hadn't noticed before. "I was saving this for later," he admitted. "But if you're certain, Mara Cooper, will you marry me? Will you take my name, my protection, my world, and build a life with me despite all the danger and complications? Will you be my wife, my partner, my family?" Yes. The word came without hesitation. Yes, to all of it. The ring was perfect, a sapphire surrounded by diamonds, elegant and understated. He slid it onto my finger, then rose and kissed me with a passion that left me breathless. "You're mine now," he murmured against my mouth. "Officially, permanently, completely mine. And you're mine." I kissed him again. Forever. We stood there as night fell, wrapped around each other, while his world continued turning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, new adjustments to navigate. But tonight, we were just two people in love, choosing each other despite everything that made it complicated and dangerous and probably insane. And somehow, impossibly, it was perfect. Spring in. Chicago arrived with unexpected gentleness. The harsh winter that had gripped the city for months finally released its hold, giving way to cherry blossoms and warm breezes that made the Bellerose gardens explode with color. I stood on the terrace, coffee in hand, watching the sun paint gold across dew-soaked grass. 6 months. Half a year since I'd pushed a stranger out of the way of a bullet and changed my entire life. Since I'd gone from Mara Cooper, high school English teacher living paycheck to paycheck, to Mara Russo, wife of one of Chicago's most powerful men. The wedding had been small, intimate, just family, and Damien's inner circle. Jenna had stood beside me as my maid of honor, tears streaming down her face as she watched me marry a man she still wasn't entirely sure about. But she'd come around, slowly. Weekly dinners at the estate, carefully supervised visits where she got to know Damien beyond the dangerous reputation. She still flinched sometimes when his phone rang, with business calls, still worried constantly about my safety. But she'd learned to trust that I'd made my choice with open eyes. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica, my former colleague at the high school. "Missing you today. Tommy Brennan just turned in an essay comparing Romeo to a modern fuckboy. Wish you were here to read it." I smiled, typing back. "Please tell me you're saving it for me. I need to see this masterpiece." I'd resigned from teaching at the end of the school year, The official story was that I'd gotten married and wanted to focus on family. The real reason was more complicated security concerns, the difficulty of maintaining the fiction that I was just a normal teacher when my husband commanded an empire. It had been one of the hardest decisions I'd made, letting go of the career I'd built, the students I'd loved teaching. But I hadn't stopped completely. Twice a week, I volunteered at a community center in a neighborhood the Russo family protected, teaching English to adult immigrants and running a reading program for at-risk kids. It kept me connected to education while operating in a space where my new identity wasn't a liability. And I'd started something new working with Damien on the legitimate side of his business. My analytical skills, honed from years of close reading literature and grading essays, translated surprisingly well to contract review and international negotiations. I discovered I had a talent for spotting inconsistencies, for reading between lines, for understanding the subtext of business deals the same way I'd once analyzed Shakespeare. "You're up early." Damien's voice came from behind me, rough with sleep. His arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me back against his chest. Couldn't sleep? Just thinking. I leaned into his warmth. About how different life is now. How much has changed. Regrets? The question was casual, but I heard the tension beneath it. Not even one. I turned in his arms, cupping his face. Morning stubble scratched my palms, and his dark hair was sleep-mussed in a way that made him look younger, less dangerous. Well, maybe one small regret. His expression tightened. What? That I didn't meet you sooner. That we lost years we could have had together. I kissed him softly. But that's not really a regret. Just wishful thinking. Relief flooded his features. You terrified me for a moment. Good. Keeps you on your toes. I grinned. Speaking of which, Jenna called last night after you went to bed. She and David are coming for dinner Sunday, and she wants to talk to us about something important. Important how? She wouldn't say, but I'm guessing either they're getting engaged or she's pregnant. I watched his face carefully. How would you feel about becoming an uncle? Uncle. He tested the word, expression thoughtful. I'd feel honored, protective, terrified that I'd corrupt the child with my lifestyle. You won't. You'd be a wonderful uncle. I traced the scar on his chin, the one I'd noticed that first night in the hospital. And someday, if we decide to have children of our own, you'll be an even better father. His eyes darkened with emotion. You want children? With me? Knowing what kind of world they'd grow up in? Someday. Not immediately. But yes, I held his gaze. I want to build a complete life with you, Damien. Everything that entails. And I trust you to protect our family the same way you've protected me. He kissed me then, deep and claiming. A kiss that spoke of promises and futures, and love so intense it sometimes scared me with its depth. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. I love you, Mara Russo, more than I have words for. I love you too. Now come on. We have that meeting with the Castellano family at 10. I need to shower and look intimidating. His laugh was warm and genuine. Tesoro, you're a 5'6" former English teacher. You don't intimidate anyone. Then I'll let you be intimidating for both of us. I pulled away, heading inside. But I'll look beautiful doing it. The meeting with the Castellano family was held at a neutral location, an upscale restaurant in downtown Chicago that closed its doors to the public for the occasion. This was business, the kind that required privacy and security in equal measure. The Castellanos controlled territory south of ours, and for years the two families had maintained a careful peace. But recently opportunities had emerged for collaboration, a joint venture in legitimate real estate development that could benefit both organizations while moving us further from purely criminal enterprises. I'd reviewed the contracts, identified potential issues, helped Damien structure the deal in ways that protected our interests, while offering enough benefit to make it attractive. This meeting was the final negotiation before signing. Marcus drove us, with Luca following in a second vehicle. The security presence was subtle but absolute. Damien never took chances with my safety, even 6 months into our marriage when the immediate threats had been neutralized. Nervous? He asked as we pulled up to the restaurant. A little. I've never been part of this kind of negotiation before. I smoothed my dress charcoal gray, professional but elegant, paired with the sapphire necklace Damien had given me for our 3-month anniversary. What if I say something wrong? You won't. And even if you did, I trust your judgment completely. He took my hand, the one wearing his ring, and kissed it. You've become invaluable to this organization, Mara. Not just as my wife, but as a strategic thinker. The captains respect you. The other families are learning to. Because I'm your wife. Because you're brilliant," he corrected firmly. "Because you spotted the embezzlement scheme that could have cost us millions. Because you negotiated the port contract that increased our legitimate revenue by 30%. Because you bring a perspective none of us have, someone who wasn't raised in this world, who sees angles we miss." The praise warmed me more than it should. I'd worked hard these past months to prove I wasn't just Damien's wife, wasn't just the woman he'd married out of obligation or infatuation. I'd carved out my own role, my own value to the organization. Inside, the Castellano family waited. Antonio Castellano, the patriarch, was in his 60s with silver hair and the sharp eyes of someone who'd survived decades in this world. His daughter, Isabella, served as his second-in-command, a rarity in the traditionally male-dominated structure, but she'd proven herself ruthless and effective. "Damien," Antonio stood, offering his hand. "And the famous Mara. I've heard so much about you. All good, I hope." I shook his hand firmly, maintaining eye contact the way Damien had taught me. "Show no weakness, no uncertainty. Mostly good." Isabella's smile was razor-sharp, though some question why Damien relies so heavily on someone so new to our world. The challenge was direct, designed to put me off balance. I returned her smile with equal sharpness. Because fresh perspectives often see what familiarity misses. The contract I reviewed for this deal had 3 clauses that would have given your family disproportionate control of the joint venture. I'm sure that was just an oversight. Isabella's eyebrows rose fractionally. Antonio laughed, genuine and surprised. "I like her," he declared. "She has teeth. Good. Let's sit. Discuss these clauses Mara found so problematic." The negotiation lasted 2 hours. I'd prepared extensively, knowing every detail of the contract, every comparable deal in the industry, every legal precedent that might apply. When Isabella challenged our terms, I countered with data. When Antonio suggested modifications, I calculated the financial impact in real time. By the end, we'd reached an agreement that satisfied both families, a genuine partnership, rather than one side dominating the other. "You're wasted on Damien," Isabella said as we prepared to leave, but her tone held respect now rather than challenge. "If you ever tire of the Russo family, the Castellanos would welcome someone with your skills." "I appreciate the offer," I replied smoothly, "but I'm exactly where I want to be." In the car afterward, Damien pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my temple. "You were magnificent. Did you see Antonio's face when you cited that zoning regulation? He had no idea that clause violated it. I did my homework. I couldn't hide my smile. Was I okay? I wasn't too aggressive? You were perfect, firm but professional. You earned their respect today, Mara. That's not easy to do." His pride was evident in his voice. "I'm constantly amazed by you, by how seamlessly you've adapted to this world. I had good teachers." I squeezed his hand. "And good motivation. I wanted to prove I belonged here, that I wasn't just your wife but your partner. You've proven that 100 times over." He kissed me again, deeper. "When we get home, I'm going to show you exactly how much I appreciate your brilliance." Heat flooded through me. Promises, promises. Tesoro, I always keep my promises. Sunday dinner with Jenna and David was more relaxed than family dinners usually were. We ate in the smaller dining room, just the 4 of us, without the formality that usually accompanied meals at Belarus. Jenna looked happy, truly happy in a way I hadn't seen in months. Her relationship with David had deepened over the past year, and watching them together reminded me of the early days with Damien. That same intensity, the way they gravitated toward each other unconsciously. "So," I said once dessert had been served, "you said you had something important to discuss." Jenna and David exchanged glances. Then David reached into his pocket, pulling out a small jewelry box. "I was going to wait," he said, opening it to reveal a simple but elegant engagement ring. "Do it properly, romantically." But Jenna insisted we tell you first. "We're getting engaged," Jenna announced, face glowing. "David asked me last night, and I said yes, but we wanted you to know before we tell anyone else." I was around the table in seconds, pulling my sister into a fierce hug. "Oh my God, Jenna, I'm so happy for you." "You approve?" She pulled back, searching my face. "I know we're young, that we've only been together a year, but you love him, and he loves you, and life's too short to wait when you know." I glanced at Damien, who'd stood to shake David's hand. "Trust me, I understand that impulse completely." David looked nervous as he faced Damien. "I wanted to ask formally, sir, for your blessing. I know you're not technically Jenna's family, but you're important to Mara. And you have my blessing," Damien interrupted, his tone warm. "And my congratulations. Jenna is a remarkable woman. You're lucky to have her." "I know." David's relief was palpable. "I'll take care of her, I promise." "I know you will." Damien's expression grew more serious. "And you should know, as Mara's sister, Jenna is under Russo protection. That extends to you now as her fiancé. If you ever need anything, if anyone ever threatens either of you, you call me immediately." The reminder of Damien's world, the protection that came with being connected to our family, cast a brief shadow over the celebration, but Jenna handled it better than she would have 6 months ago. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything. For protecting me, for making Mara happy, for accepting David into the family. You're welcome." Damien raised his wine glass. "To Jenna and David, may your marriage be filled with as much joy as ours has been." We toasted, laughed, spent the rest of the evening planning wedding details and discussing timelines. Jenna wanted a fall wedding, something small and intimate. I promised to help with everything, dresses, venues, whatever she needed. After they left, Damien and I retreated to our private suite. I was exhausted but happy, emotionally wrung out from the joy of seeing my sister so genuinely content. "You're thinking about something," Damien observed, pulling me onto the bed beside him. "Just about how much has changed. 6 months ago, I was terrified about Jenna's reaction to all this. Now she's getting married, bringing someone new into our strange little family, and she seems okay with it. More than okay. She's adjusted, accepted that this is your life now, your choice." He traced patterns on my arm. "And David seems solid. Marcus ran a background check, nothing concerning. Normal law student from a good family, no connections to any of our rivals." "You ran a background check on my sister's fiancé?" "Of course. Anyone who enters our circle gets vetted." He said it without apology. "It's not personal, it's protection." I should have been annoyed, should have defended David's privacy. Instead, I found myself asking, "And? What did you find?" "Exactly what he appears to be. Smart, hardworking, genuinely in love with your sister. No red flags." Damien pulled me closer. "He'll be good for her, and we'll make sure they stay safe. Thank you for caring about her, for protecting her even when she was hostile to you. She's your family. That makes her mine." He kissed my forehead. "Speaking of family, have you thought more about what we discussed? About children?" My breath caught. We'd touched on this topic occasionally, but he'd never pushed. "I have. And I think I'm almost ready. Maybe another year. Let us settle into this life more completely. But yes, I want to have children with you, Damien." Something raw and vulnerable crossed his expression. "You're certain? Knowing what kind of world they'd grow up in? The danger? The complications?" "I'm certain, because they'd also grow up with love, security, protection. They'd have a father who would die before letting harm come to them, and a mother who understands how to balance this world with normalcy." I cupped his face. "We'd make it work. Together. Together." He repeated the word like a prayer. "God, Mara, you have no idea what you mean to me, how you've transformed my life." "I think I have some idea." I kissed him softly. "You did the same for mine." We made love slowly that night, savoring each touch, each whispered promise. Afterward, tangled in sheets with his heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I thought about the future we were building. It wouldn't be simple. There would always be dangers, complications, moments of fear when Damien's world intruded in violent ways. But there would also be this love, partnership, the fierce certainty that we'd chosen each other and would keep choosing each other every single day. The call came at 3 a.m. I woke to Damien, already answering his phone, voice sharp and alert despite the hour. "When? How many?" "I'll be there in 20 minutes." He was out of bed before I'd fully processed what was happening, pulling on clothes with efficient speed. "What's wrong?" I managed, struggling to consciousness. "Problem at one of our warehouses. Potential breach." He was strapping on a shoulder holster now, sliding a gun into place with practiced ease. "I need to handle it personally." Fear clutched my chest. "Is it dangerous?" "Probably not, but I can't take chances." He crossed to me, pressing a hard kiss to my mouth. Stay here. Marcus is positioning people around the estate just in case this is a diversion. You're safe. Be careful. Always. Then he was gone, footsteps echoing through the hallway. I lay in the dark, pulse racing, trying not to imagine worst-case scenarios. This was part of the life I'd chosen, the 3A. M calls, the sudden emergencies, the constant low-level fear that something might happen to him. An hour passed, then 2. I couldn't sleep, couldn't settle. Finally, I gave up and went to Damien's study, powering up his computer to distract myself with work. The contract with the Castellanos needed final review. I lost myself in legal language, in careful analysis of terms and conditions, anything to avoid checking my phone every 30 seconds. Dawn was breaking when I heard vehicles in the drive. I was at the window in seconds, relief flooding through me as I saw Damien emerge from an SUV, whole and unharmed. I met him in the entrance hall. He looked exhausted, jaw tight with tension, but when he saw me, his expression softened. "Everything okay?" I asked, scanning him for injuries. "False alarm, mostly. Someone tried to break into the warehouse, but our security caught them before they got inside." He pulled me close, burying his face in my hair. "Just teenagers looking for drugs to steal. Stupid kids who had no idea what they were walking into." "What happened to them?" "We scared them sufficiently and let them go. Called their parents, actually. Explained that breaking into private property has consequences." A hint of dark humor colored his voice. "I suspect they'll be grounded for the foreseeable future." "You called their parents. I'm not a monster, Mara. They were kids, 16 or 17, scared out of their minds when they realized what they'd stumbled into." He pulled back, studying my face. "You didn't sleep." "Couldn't. I was worried about you." "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to frighten you." He kissed me softly. "Come on, let's go back to bed. We can sleep a few more hours before the day starts properly." Wrapped in his arms, safe and warm, I finally drifted off. But the incident reminded me that this would always be our reality. The calls in the night, the sudden crises, the moments of fear punctuating our happiness. I'd chosen it knowingly, but living it was different than anticipating it. 3 weeks later, I stood in the bathroom of our suite, staring at a pregnancy test with shaking hands, 2 pink lines, positive. I wasn't supposed to be pregnant yet. We'd talked about waiting another year, about being more settled before starting a family, but clearly, fate had other plans. Or more accurately, our failure to be consistent with birth control had plans. Terror and joy warred in my chest. A baby, Damien's child, growing inside me right now, barely more than a collection of cells but already so wanted, so loved, and so vulnerable. How could I bring a child into this world? Into the danger and violence that lurked at the edges of our happiness? What kind of mother deliberately exposed her baby to this life? But even as the doubt spiraled, I knew the truth. This baby was happening, and we'd protect it with everything we had. I found Damien in his study, reviewing financial reports with Marcus. They looked up when I entered, and whatever expression I wore made Marcus excuse himself. Immediately. "Mara?" Damien was around the desk in seconds. "What's wrong? Are you hurt?" "I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant." The words tumbled out without preamble. "I know we said we'd wait, but I'm pregnant." He froze, staring at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. "Pregnant. You're certain?" I held up the test. 3 tests, actually, all positive. Silence stretched. Then his face transformed, joy breaking through the shock like sunrise. "We're having a baby. We're having a baby." Tears spilled over despite my efforts to hold them back. "I'm terrified, Damien. What if something happens? What if I can't protect?" He kissed me, silencing my spiraling fears. When he pulled back, his eyes were wet too. "We'll protect this child with everything we have," he said fiercely. "The full weight of the Russo family, every resource, every person loyal to us. Our baby will be the most protected child in Chicago. That's what I'm afraid of. Growing up surrounded by guards, by constant security, never having a normal childhood. Normal is overrated." He placed his hand over my still flat stomach, reverence in the gesture. "This child will grow up loved, protected, knowing their parents would burn down the world before letting harm come to them. That's worth more than normal." I wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that we could navigate this, could raise a child in this world without losing ourselves or our baby's innocence. "I'm scared," I admitted, "but I'm also happy. Is that wrong? It's human." He pulled me close, one hand still pressed to my stomach. And perfectly reasonable. We're going to be parents, tesoro. That's terrifying for anyone, regardless of circumstances. We stood like that for a long time, holding each other, contemplating the future that had just become startlingly real. We'll need to increase security, Damien said finally. Make sure Dr. Reeves handles your prenatal care. I trust him completely. Limit your public exposure once you start showing. And, Damien, I stopped his spiraling plans. One step at a time. Right now, let's just enjoy this. Be happy about it before we start worrying about all the complications. He nodded, visibly trying to calm himself. You're right. I'm sorry. This is wonderful news. The best news. He kissed me again, tender and claiming. We're having a baby. We're having a baby, I echoed. And despite all my fears, I smiled. 7 months later, I stood in our bedroom, struggling with the zipper on my dress. My belly had grown impressive in recent weeks, making simple tasks like dressing myself increasingly difficult. Need help? Damien appeared in the doorway, already dressed for Jenna's wedding in a perfectly tailored suit. Please, this zipper hates me. He crossed to me, hands gentle as he worked the zipper over my swollen stomach. You look beautiful. I look like I swallowed a watermelon. I turned to examine my reflection. The maternity dress Sophia had found was elegant deep blue silk that complemented my coloring while accommodating my pregnancy. But I still felt huge, ungainly. You look like you're carrying my child, which makes you the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He pressed a kiss to my neck. Ready for today? As ready as I'll ever be. Jenna's been planning this for months. If anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. We've checked every detail, vetted every vendor, positioned security at every entrance. Your sister will have a perfect day. The wedding was being held at a beautiful estate north of the city neutral territory, carefully selected for its security and elegance. 200 guests, a blend of Jenna's friends, David's family, and carefully selected members of our world who could be trusted to behave at a civilian wedding. The ceremony was beautiful. Jenna radiated happiness in her simple white dress. David looked nervous and proud, and I cried through the entire thing despite my determination not to. Hormones made me emotional, turning me into a weeping mess at every tender moment. Damien held my hand throughout, his thumb tracing circles on my wrist, grounding me. When Jenna and David were pronounced married, he leaned close. That was us 6 months ago. I remember. You cried too. I did not. You absolutely did. Don't try to rewrite history. I grinned at him. You're a big softy under all that dangerous exterior. Only for you, and apparently, for your sister's wedding. The reception was held in gardens overlooking a lake. Dinner was served at sunset, golden light painting everything in warm tones. I sat beside Damien at a table with Marcus and Sophia, watching Jenna and David dance their first dance as husband and wife. You'll need to dance with me eventually, I told Damien. Despite my condition, I'd be honored. He stood, offering his hand. Shall we? Moving was awkward with my belly, but Damien adapted seamlessly, holding me close while we swayed to slow music. Other couples joined us on the dance floor, Jenna and David, Sophia dancing with Marcus in a rare moment of levity. Thank you, I said quietly, for all of this, for making sure Jenna's day was perfect, for accepting her and David into our family, for being exactly who you are. Thank you for giving me a family to protect, for bringing light into my dark world. His hand rested on my swollen stomach, feeling the baby kick. For giving me a future I never imagined possible. Our daughter, we'd learned it was a girl 2 months ago, kicked again, as if agreeing with him. I smiled, covering his hand with mine. We're going to be okay, I said. Not a question. A statement of fact. We are. He kissed me, slow and sweet, while music played and our family celebrated around us. Better than okay. We're going to be extraordinary. 3 weeks later, at 2 a.m, I woke to my water breaking. The next 12 hours were a blur of pain, breathing exercises, Damien holding my hand while I cursed him for getting me pregnant. Dr. Reeves was calm and competent, the private birthing suite at the hospital secured by more armed men than necessary. And then, finally, a baby's cry. It's a girl, Dr. Reeves announced, placing a tiny, angry, perfect human on my chest. Congratulations. I stared at my daughter, our daughter overwhelmed by love so fierce it took my breath away. She was tiny, red-faced, with a shock of dark hair and her father's nose. Hi, I whispered, Hi, sweet girl. We've been waiting for you. Damien stood frozen beside me, staring at the baby with an expression I'd never seen before. Wonder, terror, and love all mixed together. Do you want to hold her? I asked softly. He nodded, unable to speak. Dr. Reeves showed him how to support her head, how to cradle her safely. And then Damien was holding our daughter, this dangerous man who commanded an empire, reduced to tears by 7 pounds of squalling infant. She's perfect, he managed. Absolutely perfect. What should we name her? We'd discussed options but never decided definitively. Sophia? He said immediately. After the woman who helped raise me, who's cared for our family for decades. Sophia Rose Russo. Sophia Rose. It was beautiful. Perfect. Sophia it is. We spent the next hour in that bubble, just the three of us. Our new family, learning each other. Sophia nursed hungrily, then fell asleep against my chest, content and safe. Eventually, we allowed visitors. Sophia the elder came first, tears streaming down her face as she held her namesake. Then Marcus, uncharacteristically emotional. Jenna and David arrived shortly after, Jenna sobbing with joy as she met her niece. But as afternoon faded to evening and we were finally alone again, it was just us. Damien, me, and the tiny, perfect human we'd created. I love you, Damien said softly, one finger tracing Sophia's tiny hand. Both of you. More than I have words for. We love you too. I leaned against him, exhausted but happy. Welcome to fatherhood. Welcome to the rest of our lives. Outside the hospital windows, Chicago continued turning. Somewhere in the city, Damien's organization was functioning, business being conducted, the world he controlled moving forward. But here, in this quiet room, none of that mattered. We were just a family, a man, a woman, and the baby they'd created against all odds. And somehow, impossibly, we'd found happiness in the most unlikely of places. 7 months ago, I'd taken a bullet for a stranger in a parking garage. That split-second decision had cost me my old life, my security, my certainty about who I was and what I wanted. But it had given me everything I'd never known I needed. Love, family, purpose, and a future that was just beginning. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.